Am I the a-hole for making my daughter-in-law cry? My son and daughter-in-law had their twins last year. They didn't want to put them in daycare and asked me if I could watch them. I've been doing childcare my whole adult life, as a nanny, and at the time I had a well-paying nanny job. My son and daughter-in-law couldn't afford to pay me as much, but I didn't mind as they're my grandkids and I love them. I do it for free, but I have to pay my bills. I did make sure multiple times that this was going to be permanent. I was quitting a good job for this, and I didn't want to have to scramble last minute. They swore up and down that it'd be until they were 3. I agreed, but I've had so much fun watching them this past year. They're now 18 months old, and I've started to teach them colors, ABCs, etc. We go to play groups so they can be with kids their age. My son and daughter-in-law sat me down last week, saying they feel more comfortable with the daycare. After doing research, they feel it's best they're in daycare now. They've already found one and gave me 2 weeks' notice. I was upset. They promised me 3 years of work, and now I have to scramble to find a new job they'll pay as well as my last one. I said all of this, and they said it wasn't fair for me to expect them to keep to that. I pointed out what this would do financially to me, and they said they had to think of themselves. They're paying the child care more, but it's worth it. I said now I don't know how I'll pay my bills, including my son's student loans that I pay. I left shortly after. My son says his wife cried and that I shouldn't have guilted them about this. He said bringing up the money was manipulative. Am I the a-hole? As I know of, they're only sending them to daycare for socialization. They say there's nothing wrong with my care. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. They broke their commitment, and they are a-holes for making you pay student loans. Stop paying immediately if you can. This times 100. Do not pay student loans. If they can afford daycare, they can afford to pay loans. Not the a-hole. And stop paying your son's student loans, unless they are in your name. Even then, she should heavily put the onus on him to pay. You can clearly afford your student loans by yourself like an adult now. So since you've broken our commitment to me and I have loss of pay, I'm stopping my generous contribution to your financial obligations. Not the a-hole. Did you have any kind of formal contract? I would strongly consider not paying your son's student loans either. Typically, I would have a contract, but they were family, so I thought we'd forgo it. I didn't think they'd screw me over. The loans are in his name, but we had an agreement that I'd pay the loan and he'd pay interest. Is that agreement in writing? Lol. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's not. I'll probably stop paying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting a teacher fired when she wouldn't let my daughter eat in class? My 47 female daughter, 13 female, is type 1 diabetic and sometimes hypoglycemic. Due to this, we set up a 504 that says she can eat a snack in class whenever needed, along with other accommodations. Anyways, at one point, one of her teachers, who is apparently a new teacher, denies her a snack while hypoglycemic. She nearly passes out, but then the next class she's in, the teacher has enough common sense to let her eat a snack before passing out at school. When she told me, I immediately called the teacher. When she called back, I lectured her and told her that she needed to let my daughter eat a snack when needed. She says snacks aren't allowed in class, but I tell her that due to my daughter's 504, she's legally required to give my daughter an exception to that rule, and recommended she give it another read. Before hanging up, I tell her that if she does this again, I will contact the principal and let him know. I recorded this call in my husband's phone, by the way. A month goes by and the same thing happens again. I request a meeting with the principal and my husband plays back the call between me and the teacher. I tell him she has done this twice and needs to have a talk with her. Turns out, he actually fired her for ADA violations. How do I know? I ran into her in public, and she told me that it's my fault I got her fired over some stupid snacks, and that I need to stop raising an entitled brat. Instead of arguing back, I just walked away. Was I really the a-hole? Did I actually go too far? Not the a-hole. A 504 is legally binding agreement that the school has to follow. The teacher was actually probably fired because she didn't follow the 504, and the school could get in trouble for that. ADA is the American with Disability Act, so I believe it would be an ADA violation to deny my daughter an accommodation that she needs. Not the a-hole. It's your fault that you threw your career away over some stupid snacks. I'm honestly baffled by the stupidity of this teacher. Not the a-hole. She put your daughter's life at risk. Twice. The school did her a favor, frankly, by firing her. Better be fired than let your foolish choices harm a child in your care and then have to deal with the consequences. In a way, the teacher was saved from herself. This reminds me of the idiotic high school coaches who harm children through negligence, but not recognizing heat stroke or other injuries. It is so easy to not actively fatally harm children under your care. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mom it's her fault I live in a cave? So my 18 female mom has been charging me market rate rent since I started working at 16, and I was left with travel money and just about had food money left. I got a pay raise recently, earning pretty much double what I was previously, and she tried to up my rent even further. When I refused, she kicked me out. This was the end of July and I'm just now kind of back on my feet. Recently moved into an apartment and my rent is quite high, and because it was furnished, I have a slight bit of wiggle room to start buying the essentials. I've started with the stuff I just need. I still haven't gotten around to buying real plates or cutlery because I haven't been able to, so I've been eating off plastic. I also have one light bulb, and I just take it from room to room. So, my mom asked if she could come over and talk yesterday, and I agreed to it. She came over, and the first thing she did was complain about how bare and dark it was. It was bright when she first came, so I was using the natural light. She eventually decided to order us food, and when it came, she asked where the forks were. She got them and got really angry that they were plastic. She went off at me, saying I can't afford this place since it's like I'm living in a cave, and that I should find something cheaper. I told her if she wasn't charging me more than what I'm paying here, I would have savings that didn't all go on an emergency deposit. And maybe then I'd have light bulbs and stainless steel forks. She thinks I'm being an a-hole for back talking. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Might be important to add that the rent I'm paying now, including bills, etc., is still less than what my mother was charging me. But now I can walk to work, so travel expenses are cut out almost entirely. Not the a-hole, and let me go ahead and say something your awful mother never will. I am so proud of you. You are building your future one light bulb at a time, and not complaining one bit. You got out of a bad situation and are working to be financially stable. Those are all big accomplishments, and you were amazing for them. I suggest that you start limiting contact with your mom. It doesn't seem like she's a positive influence in your life, and I think you would be happier and free to grow more confidence if she wasn't around to put you down. She was abusive in charging you to live with your parents as a minor, and the way she treats you isn't okay. I hope you realize that and make the best choices for your mental health. Oh, also, I don't know if this will apply for you, but check with your power company. Mine sends boxes of free light bulbs for part of an energy initiative. You could also try your local food banks for a few extra staples, and get some forks and spoons from the dollar store from the money you would have spent on the food. Good luck on your journey to self-sufficiency. I'd also like to add that thrift stores are a great place to buy silverware and serving sets when you get around to purchasing them. A lot of time you can find full china sets for next to nothing. Not only not the a-hole, what your mom did was illegal. You cannot charge underage people rent unless they're emancipated. Take her to small claims courts and get back the 2 years of illegal rent she took. Be careful going this route, Opie. Reddit likes to pretend that we're bastions of free will individuals in a libertarian society. Suing your mom may be more damaging than the money you could get back. A parent who charges their minor child market rate rent is automatically the a-hole. Completely agree. Especially when the rent magically starts rising the sooner you get a pay raise. Opie shouldn't share their wages with their family. Next story. Am I the a-hole for judging my daughter? I'll preface this by saying that I have 2 daughters, Amy 27 and Lily 19. Lily just had her first baby months ago. The father is out of the picture and she's only went to college 1 year, then dropped out to focus on her son. She's living with us right now and doesn't work. Amy is a college graduate, working and is engaged. She's doing well financially. She and her fiancé bought a decent apartment together. She visits every now and then, and she visited us yesterday for half an hour to tell us she was going to Ohio on a field trip with her friends and visit many places and national parks there. Lily looked sad throughout the entire visit and didn't speak till Amy left. I asked Lily what was wrong, and she said it wasn't fair that she doesn't have a job nor a degree, nor enough money to buy nice things or a new phone. And not even time to go on trips and enjoy herself. While Amy has money, recently bought a new apartment, and is going on a trip every now and then. She said it wasn't fair because she is younger than Amy and deserves to live her life too. And she asked, why? I frowned because I sensed some envy and resentment towards Amy. Even though it's not her fault, this is how Lily's life is like. I answered her question by saying that Amy didn't make any of the decision Lily did, and didn't choose all the roads Lily did. and so she shouldn't compare herself to her. Lily looked at me stunned, saying that I just basically blame her for the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down. I didn't respond, and she lashed out saying I was clearly judging her, which was cruel of me since she never said she regretted having her baby or dropping out of college, but I made it about that. I said I was sorry she misunderstood my point, and she called me a few names, then stormed out of the kitchen and kept ignoring me and refusing to speak to me, saying I know what I did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your delivery might have been a little awkward, but it was the truth. Lily's living with the consequences of her own decisions, which is adulting 101. Amy's also living with the consequences of her own decisions. If Lily doesn't like her life, then she can choose to change her situation. From the sounds of it, you are supporting Lily and her child, at least by keeping her housed. She sounds a bit entitled, spoiled, but perhaps needs mental health support to help her see her future differently. It might even be time to talk to Lily about her long-term plans. It's also not too late for Lily to turn her life around. If she wants Amy's life, she can go back to school and get that degree. Work out some sort of babysitting schedule or childcare plan. Lily should also remember that Amy has an 8-year head start on her. It's unrealistic to expect to have hit the same milestones as a 27-year-old woman at age 19. 1000% not a hole. She has a baby young. It's a different path. It's not going to look as shiny as someone who took a different path. Sounds like Lily just saw the consequences of her choices, but still doesn't quite get it. You said nothing wrong. You didn't blame her for her choices or victimize her. You just let her know there's a reason their lives look different. I hope she kicks the entitled attitude soon, though. Not today, home. She reacted how a child would react. I suppose she wanted you to tell her that nothing is her fault and reinforce her point that life isn't fair. I think you dealt with it the correct way. You explained that the decisions you make in life have an outcome. Lily looked at me stunned, saying that I just basically blame her for the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down. I'm stunned that she was stunned at the idea that the decisions she made and the roads she chose to walk down are her fault. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's friend the reason I'm not interested in her daughter? So, I stopped by my mom's house to pick up some stuff yesterday. Her friend was over because they had just gotten back from shopping. I've known my mom's friend, Carla, for a while. She has a daughter my age, and Carla has hinted before about introducing us. Well, I was running some stuff back and forth to my car when I heard Carla talking to my mom about how she just wished her daughter would get her life together and meet someone nice. Then she called my name and asked if I'm seeing anyone, to which I said no. Then she was all, "You should take my daughter out sometime. I'm sure you'd hit it off. She needs to meet a nice guy like you." I was like, I'm not sure. I'm kind of busy. Then I went back in my old room. I've heard enough from both Carla and my mom about her daughter to know that she's not my type. Her daughter was in a 2-year college for 4 years and then dropped out, which is normal and not bad. Then she had a decent job and quit because it was boring. She has a substance problem and is in and out of rehab, and she bounces from one guy to the next, and somehow gets them to pay her bills. A while passed and I got what I came for and was saying goodbye to my mom when Carla started badgering me. "So, when are you going to take her out?" I let her know. I said, I'm kind of busy right now. Too busy to take a nice girl out on a Friday? Yeah, and I'm not really interested, sorry. Well, why not? She's a nice, pretty girl. You'd be good for her. I was getting annoyed because I felt cornered and looked at my mom for help, but she didn't do anything. So I said, yeah, maybe, but that doesn't mean she'd be good for me. What's that supposed to mean? Well, I'm not really into girls that don't have a job and have addiction problems. She flipped out and said she can't believe I'd be so rude. She's known me since I was a kid, and that she was trying to fix me up with her daughter. I should take it as a compliment. Instead of insulting her daughter, I could have just said no. I left and my mom called me later and said it was really mean to say that to Carla when she was just trying to be nice. That I came off like a snobby a-hole. Even if I wasn't interested, I could have been nicer about it. Am I the a-hole? I could have just said no, which is exactly what you did. Not the Opie. Came here to say this. Opie said no. She shouldn't have asked why if she didn't want to hear the answer. Even if the answer wasn't she's an addict, it was bound to be something that was not going to be complimentary. She's the a-hole for asking the question and then getting mad at him for answering honestly. Right? Like, what possible answer to that question would be deemed acceptable? I've taken a lifelong vow of celibacy? Your daughter is such a paragon of purity that I may only worship her from afar from anonymous tokens of my undying devotion. I'm a werewolf, and your daughter deserves someone who won't turn into a man-eating monster once a month. Obviously, it's a rhetorical question meant to manipulate Opie into a reluctant agreement to take her out. But people who ask blatantly manipulative rhetorical questions deserve actual answers. Her mom has stated she has substance problem and uses guys. Why would you even want that in your life? Edit. Forgot to say you did say no more than once. They pushed, and it's their fault for the response in my mind. Yeah, if Opie had said the insults right off the bat the first time Carla ever mentioned dating her daughter, it'd be an a-hole. But it's clear she's been at it a long time. And during this visit Carla kept pushing, Opie tried to be polite and brush it off as not wanting to date anyone at the moment, which is the gentlest rejection ever. Not only would she not take no for an answer, she demanded to know why Opie wasn't interested. It's not really his fault she didn't like the answer. People who are super pushy about trying to matchmake others are total a-holes to me. Even if the person they're being pushy about isn't a bad person or anything like that, it's still annoying if they won't just listen to a no.
Am I the a-hole for not telling my wife that I knew she cheated a decade ago and not wanting to stop cheating? About a decade ago, my friend discovered my 43 male wife, 43 female, with another man in a bar being lovey-dovey. He informed me about it and showed me the photos. I wanted to confront her, but my friend told me to prepare for divorce before doing anything. So I booked an appointment and even drew papers, but I never served her. My confidence was in the toilet, and I decided to find another woman first before divorcing her, which I am now being told has a name. It's called monkey branching. When I started my own affair, I decided to end the marriage after Christmas. Then it became New Year. My next deadline was after a kid's birthdays, but I never pulled the trigger. I realized that I like my life. I get to have fun with other women while not worrying about relationship things with them. I have a steady girlfriend for the past 4 years who knows about my wife. Initially, I don't think my wife even noticed that I was having an affair, most likely because she's busy with hers. Then it became new normal that I will be gone with my buddy on hikes and stuff. My friend always covered for me, but his wife found out a few months ago and told my wife. My wife confronted me, and I just told her I knew about her affair and I even have a photo. She was shocked and then started crying. I thought she would get off my back after that, but nope. She told me that affair was a mistake, and she got carried away and stopped it. I told her I don't really care to know about her affair. She asked me to go to couples therapy, which I refused. She has started individual therapy, and her therapist is feeding her mind with rubbish. She came and told me that I need to cut off my girlfriend and work on our marriage. She said she has made a mistake, but she is creating boundaries for herself and I should respect them. I said fine, I will cut off things with girlfriend. I obviously was not gonna cut off my girlfriend just because my wife told me to, but I decided to keep things down low. But she caught me again. I guess she has become very vigilant. She gave me an ultimatum. I said fine. She didn't believe me, and she was not wrong. She asked me what I want in exchange, and I told her that I like my life. I am not gonna change it one bit, and definitely not because she wants me to. I like spending time with my girlfriend, and I will continue to do so as long as I want. I just want her to be a wife that she has been for past decade and don't get in my way. She asked me what I will do if she gets in my way, and I said I will just go around her. She said I can't keep punishing her for one mistake, and I didn't say anything in return. I am not really punishing her. She is punishing herself. All she has to do is enjoy her life like she did for the past decade. Turn a blind eye and not care. I don't even mind if she gets a side piece for herself. As long as she is a good domestic partner, I am not gonna leave her. And definitely not till the kids are out of the house. I am not doing anything she hasn't done, so I don't see why she's so upset. Now for the top comments. Info. If it's been a decade, the kids must at least be in their teens now. Why not just get divorced? Because he doesn't just want a life partner. He wants someone to take care of all the housework for him and parent his kids while he's off with his girlfriend. To be fair, it sounds like she wants the same thing, since OP said he has had a girlfriend for 4 years and thought his wife didn't notice because she was cheating during that time. Both adults are massive a-holes here. Let's not lay blame on only the husband and not the wife. She wants to cheat, but she doesn't want to be cheated on. Both messed up, toxic, and childish. Just divorce. Nah, don't. Don't flood the dating scene with such a-holes. Keep your toxicity in your marriage. They're already dating though, so too late for that. What are you people doing? At any point, has anyone thought about the kids? You're both responsible for your own participation in your marriage. What are you teaching your kids right now? Your marriage has failed. Why are you choosing to show your kids how to live in an unhealthy relationship? Y'all are very immature and selfish. You both failed your partnership. Perhaps it's time to step up and try to be better parents. Stop pointing fingers at each other. Own your own actions and stop lying to control each other. Do either of you want to do the right thing for your kids' future? Everyone sucks here. You're both wrong and your kids are getting the consequences of your behavior. They both suck so freaking much. I hope their kids turn out healthy and cut these two morons out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my ex's fiancé cry? I feel like crap, so I am probably the a-hole. My female 44 ex then husband, male 49, cheated on me with his current fiancé, female 30. This was 2 years ago. I found out when she contacted me to tell me to leave his house. She was pregnant. I was broken because I thought he loved me. He begged me to work things out. I don't know why I agreed at first, maybe because I wasn't catching up with the changes. But a couple of months later, with lots of couples counseling, I realized I wasn't in love with him anymore. He went back to his girlfriend and they got engaged. I started dating my boyfriend, male 40, not long after. Now they have had their child and I thought they were happy, at least if you believed the girl's Instagram. I don't follow her because she used her social media to bash me and call me bitter and jealous. Anyway, we are cordial now. Yesterday, my daughter turned 15 and we had a party. She was following me around like she wanted to talk. Then she offered to help cleaning. She started asking weird questions about my relationship with her fiancé and how it was. I realized that she was talking about intimacy. They're not having any since they conceived. I was embarrassed and confused. I tried to explain that it was different since we met in our 20s and that men's drive plummets when they got older. She looked a mixture of shocked and sad. I asked her why she didn't find someone her age instead of sleeping with a married older man. She got angry, but I told her that while his drive will be worse, hers will increase. She looked literally panicked. He doesn't seem a prize you've won from me now, huh? She started crying. So yeah, I am the a-hole. I didn't even apologize. I know my remark was nasty and in reference to her saying she won and love prevailed when they got together. She will not leave him either because he pays for everything and she doesn't work. So my comment was unnecessary. I don't know why I said it. Thinking back, she's done me a favor since I now have an intimate life again. But I still don't understand. Why do some girls get together with so much older men? Don't they know what awaits them? I don't know. I have never seen a happy woman in an age gap relationship, not actually satisfied anyway. Maybe I am odd for believing intimacy is very important in relationships? I don't know. I think it was completely audacious for her to come to you with her relationship problems. What you said was harsh perhaps, but in my opinion, not uncalled for, especially in the context of her flaunting the fact she won and love prevailed. Her asking you for help and insight was frankly outrageous. You've all found a way to be cordial, and this convo happened at your daughter's birthday party. How self-centered and clueless could she be? I think your response was actually reasonably warranted. Yes, very self-centered. That's something that was really obvious from the beginning. Honestly, I think your response was needed. Anything less might have inclined her to think you were open to this kind of interaction in the future. Anything remotely more subtle might have been lost on her given that self-centeredness and immaturity. Stating facts does not make you an a-hole. I think this is what TV tropes calls the punishment is the crime. I think some people get such an ego boost from stealing someone away from a partner. It never occurs to them that they stole something not only worthless but detrimental. Or it never occurred to them that the partner they slept with will sleep with others behind her back as well. I think it's not about libido. Most probably, he is kind of done with her. The chase of forbidden is now gone, and the responsibility of a young child in his age is making him realize that grass is not that green at the other end. Maybe. Hours dwindled with time, yes, and it was normal. But we never went 2 years without. Wait, she's gone 2 years without? Guaranteed it's probably cheating again. My money is on this. And maybe he is remorseful that he ruined his marriage? He is very remorseful, yes. He should be seeing his children become adults and spread their wings in a few years and start planning retirement with his soulmate, not changing diapers and living with someone he has nothing in common with. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking back my request for my mom to walk me down the aisle? So my fiancé and I thought it would be sweet if we were both walked down the aisle by our parents at our wedding. For her, that's both her parents. And for me, that's my mom. I lost my dad 11 years ago when I was 14. My mom was thrilled when I asked her and told me she was so excited to walk her baby boy down the aisle. The problem came when she told her husband that I wanted them to walk me down the aisle. Not just her, like I explicitly stated, but her and her husband, who has never been my parental figure. It only came into my life as an adult. He was excited about the prospect as well, and he called me up and told me he was glad I was finally letting him step into the role of father figure because he always wanted kids, and he was proud to have a son. I had no idea where this came out of, so I asked what he meant, and he said the fact I wanted my mom and him to walk me down the aisle meant I was embracing him as a parent too. I told him I had not asked for both of them. I asked just my mom. He acted like I never spoke. So I called my mom and asked where he got the idea I had asked him, and she told me she hadn't seen it as a big deal because they're married and he's a good man. And surely I want him to be grandpa to my future kids, so including him in this shouldn't be such a big deal. I told her it is a big deal because he is not my parent, and if anyone was going to be walking with us, it would be Dad, but he's not here, and because he's not here, I don't want anyone else. I told her she needed to clear things up with her husband, and she told me no. She said she would not crush him, and I could man up and allow him the joy of experiencing this with us. I told her I was not going to walk with the two of them. She told me it was too late to back out now, and what harm would it do? She told me it would crush him to have taken it back. I told her he blatantly ignored me when I already told him, and she defended it, saying he was excited and wanted to be included. I told her I wouldn't walk with her if she didn't fix this, and she told me I had to walk with her. I already asked and she already accepted. Which is when I told her if that was her stance, then I was taking back the offer for her and she could figure out what to tell the man she married. All hell broke loose when I told my mom this, and she told me I was behaving like a child and excluding a good man for no good reason, as well as punishing her for trying to be a good wife. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You offered a sweet gesture and she completely ruined it. Does she try to override your wishes on a lot of things or just in regard to her husband? Is she going to create a bunch of drama at the wedding now? This is all very new to me. My mom never did anything like this before, not even with her husband. But I never lived with him, so maybe that's part of the reason why. Drop her a note that says, "Dear Mom, I was obviously hurt and disappointed when you chose not to walk me up the aisle without your husband, but I accept and respect your choice and will not attempt to pressure you into changing your mind. Fiancé and I thought it would be a sweet moment to walk up the aisle with our parents, but since you don't wish to participate, we're just going to go the traditional route of the groom meeting the bride at the altar. Don't allow her to bring up the subject again. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your mom is being manipulative. There are lots of good men around, some of which will probably be guests at your wedding, none of which will be walking you down the aisle because they are not your parent. Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials." It seems so often the surviving parent doesn't get how deep the child's loss and grief are, and how they don't want their dead parent replaced. It's disrespectful to try to push a new spouse into that role. If the child wants it, that's great, but often they don't. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying, "This is exactly why she never told you about him," to my brother about his son? My nephew is 3 years old and we only found out about him a few months ago. Obviously, the last few months have been rough on all of us, but especially my brother, who I think was in shock and denial for the longest time. One of the big reasons his ex didn't tell my brother about his son was because she didn't want him to grow up spoiled and entitled like most of my family. My parents also really hated her and did a lot to try and get my brother to dump her for the longest time, so she was scared of how they'd react if they knew. Example, my dad had her fired from her grad job, and I think he was the reason she couldn't get another one in that field. My nephew turned 3 right around the time we found out, so we weren't able to celebrate, and his ex would only accept one small gift from my brother for him. So my family are belatedly celebrating his birthday, and they're going all out. My brother has bought more toys than one kid needs, and is talking about taking him to Disney, even though there's no way in hell his ex would let him take my nephew abroad. Anyway, we were talking about the party yesterday, and I told my brother we should tone it down and he shouldn't give his son that many gifts in one go, because it'll upset his ex, and most likely overwhelm my nephew whose life has already been flipped upside down. I think for my nephew's sake, it would be best if we work with his ex, because we're all going to be connected forever now, so there's no point fighting or holding on to grudges. My brother disagreed and said he wouldn't let his ex dictate his relationship with his son. I was going to explain why fighting with her wouldn't be good for my nephew, but our cousins were all siding with him and crapping on me for defending her. They think I'm only siding with her because she's one of my best friends and I'm trying to be friends with her again. I do want her as a friend, but that's beside the point. I was irritated because they were ganging up on me, and in the heat of the moment, I said, "This is exactly why she never told you about him," to my brother. He didn't say anything, but my cousins tore me to shreds. My brother has barely spoken to me since, and for some reason, my family's now convinced I knew about my nephew all along when I absolutely didn't. My brother is also being so nasty to his ex now when he wasn't before, and I think it's because he's taking his anger at me out on her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You spoke the truth. Your brother feeling entitled that his ex doesn't get any say in how he interacts with her child sounds like precisely why she concealed that info from him. The very first opportunity he had, he showed that he would not respect her boundaries. I'm also guessing that him being an a-hole who doesn't respect her wishes is related to why they're exes. Most people don't want to become single parents with no involvement or support from the other parent without any reason. It's both of their child. If she gets a say in how he interacts with her child, shouldn't he get an equal say in how she interacts with her child? It isn't really their child, it's hers. She was pregnant alone. She gave birth to the child alone, and she alone cared for the baby for 3+ years. Honestly, I hope she takes her baby and runs away fast and far. So it sounds like your family is pretty affluent and the ex didn't care and just wanted to stay away. Yeah, I think the ex will be a wonderful mother. You a good aunt, your brother a less than ideal father, and your parents the grandparents from hell. That's what I'm afraid of. They might encourage him to go for custody of their child and use their affluence to sway the court's decisions in their favor. How did the family find out about the child? A friend of hers told my brother. I hope she drops that friend like a sack of rocks and run. Your brother sounds horrible. I don't think she knows that's how we found out. I would tell her, but given the situation, I doubt she'll believe me right now. My brother isn't a horrible person. He's had a huge bomb dropped on him and his emotions are all over the place. It doesn't help that everyone is feeding his anger by constantly telling him it's all her fault and she's some evil witch who did this to be spiteful. I know once he gets his emotions in check, he'll see reason and do what's best for his son. He actually blamed himself when he first found out because he was a bastard, his words, to her when he broke up with her. So part of him knows this isn't all of her fault.